The island road was open to the public again, just as it had been for more than a century. Farm walls, telephone poles, and shop fronts stood inches from the racing line. Riders called it sacred ground. Officials called it the Isle of Man TT. Speed limits didn't apply here, only endurance did. One June, the race claimed 6 lives in a week. Among them, a father and his son, paired in a sidecar. They had built their machine together in a small garage, running tests through winter rain. By the 3rd lap, they were clear through the mountain section, the engine running clean. At the 11th milestone, wind shifted through the valley. The sidecar moved half a meter off its line, hit a wall, and disintegrated. Both gone before the first marshal reached them. The next rider left the start line 60 seconds later. The race continued as it always did. The report mentioned fatigue, vibration, and speed-induced drift, nothing more specific. The conclusion was simple. The track was unchanged, and so was the risk. Every name added to the list becomes another corner. Another warning no one heeds. On the other side of the world, the asphalt was smooth, the environment controlled, the rules exact. A young racer leaned into a left-hand bend at 170 kilometers per hour. Telemetry later showed no error in angle or throttle. The rear tire lost traction for less than a heartbeat. He tried to correct. The bike stood upright too fast and cut across the racing line. 2 riders behind him saw it happen and had nowhere to go. Both hit him before reflex could intervene. His helmet came free on impact. The track fell silent. Marshals ran in, but his body had already gone still. Footage replayed on every network that night. There was no failure of equipment, no oversight in design. Physics alone had made the decision. He fought a slide instead of releasing it. Instinct became fatal. The circuit introduced stronger helmet systems, improved track response, and new training for multi-bike crashes. But every reform followed the same realization. On a surface built for perfection, one movement too human will always find a way to break it. Along the coast of Italy, traffic moved easily under the mid-morning sun. A man known for precision and endurance trained for the coming season. He rode a bicycle that day, not a motorcycle. At an intersection outside Rimini, a compact car approached from the side road. Its driver checked left, not right. The impact threw him across the hood and into the pavement. He was alive when medics arrived, but only for minutes. The data from his fitness tracker showed no excessive speed, no sudden turn, no fault at all. The driver admitted to glancing at his phone before entering the junction. 2 seconds of distraction were enough. The investigation closed in days. No criminal intent, just collision. His helmet, crushed and cracked, went into evidence. It wasn't supposed to end like that. After years of racing at full speed, he fell victim to a normal road. The irony didn't go unnoticed by those who followed his career. He'd outrun danger at 200 miles an hour and lost to it standing still. In New Hampshire, 10 motorcycles rode in formation down a quiet state highway. They were veterans, disciplined, trained to keep order, even on leisure rides. The air was still, the traffic light. A pickup truck pulling a flatbed came from the opposite lane. The driver, impaired by methamphetamine, drifted over the center line. The first impact was instant. 2 bikes gone, 1 trailer overturned, the truck jackknifed. 7 riders never moved again. It took investigators days to trace the failures that allowed it. The driver's commercial license had been suspended months earlier, lost in interstate paperwork. He should not have been there. The wreckage scattered across the tarmac became the reason for new laws and tighter oversight of commercial carriers. But paper reforms don't fix roads. Each summer since, the surviving riders return to the same stretch of asphalt. They stop at mile marker 54, leave helmets in a line, and stand in silence. 7 engines no longer answer the roll call. The mountain road outside Los Angeles was clear that morning, the air still cool from the night. A rider took the descent alone, engine steady, the front tire humming on smooth pavement. Approaching a long right-hand curve, he reached for the brake. The lever gave way under his fingers. No pressure, no response. The bike ran wide, hit the guardrail, and vanished into the trees below. When rescue arrived, the frame still ticked with heat. The cause wasn't speed or weather. It was corrosion buried deep inside the steel of the brake line. A microscopic crack had spread over months until the system failed completely. A recall came 3 weeks later, covering more than 200,000 motorcycles. The defect had been invisible, impossible to spot without cutting the part open. He'd checked everything before leaving home, as he always did. Precision didn't matter. Some mistakes are welded into the metal long before the rider touches the ignition. The highway through Texas shimmered that afternoon. Heat rose in waves across the blacktop, blurring the horizon. A group of riders moved together, keeping formation as they had 100 times before. The pace was steady, the distance safe. Up ahead, a truck slowed to make a turn. The lead bike braked early. The rider behind glanced at his phone mounted on the handlebar. One notification, one vibration, 1 second. When he looked up, it was already too late. The front wheel clipped the rear tire of the bike ahead. Momentum threw him forward, helmet first onto the road. The straps snapped, and the helmet rolled one way while the body went another. He was gone before the convoy stopped. The report was short. Cause, distraction. Effect, fatal. No drugs, no alcohol, no speed. Just a message that couldn't wait, and a second that didn't forgive. The others rode home in silence. The phone was still mounted to the frame when police cleared the scene. In court, there was nothing to charge. No other party, no intent. The safety campaign that followed used his initials as an acronym. It lasted 1 summer. The road didn't change, and neither did the habit. Far north, the mountains of Norway were thawing for the first time that year. A narrow road wound between cliffs and fjord. 2 riders entered a section marked open after a week of inspection. They were cautious, locals, not tourists, aware of how fragile the slopes could be in spring. Midway through a bend, the road began to shake. It wasn't an earthquake, it was the mountain itself. Rock broke free from the face above, dislodged by melting ice and pressure. The first impact took one rider instantly. The second was trapped beneath the debris. The third, coming behind, slid into the wreckage trying to brake. Emergency crews arrived by helicopter. There was nothing to save. The entire curve had disappeared beneath the rockfall. Engineers later installed steel mesh and motion sensors. They marked the new barrier with a plaque bearing 2 names. The report ended with a line used in every natural disaster: force majeure. But to those who ride that route now, the mountain is no longer landscape, it's memory. You can predict traffic, not gravity. You can study the sky, not the ground. In Sydney, the weather was mild. A commuter left work late, cutting through the city toward the bridge. He rode a mid-size sport bike, reliable, quiet, routine. Halfway across the span, traffic slowed. He accelerated slightly to change lanes. The engine died mid-motion. No sputter, no warning, just silence. The bike tilted, stalled, and slid under the truck behind him. The rear wheels rolled once. The scene ended there. Investigators found no error in the rider's actions. The fault was in the machine. An electronic throttle sensor had overheated, sending a false reading that shut off power completely. It was the 3rd time that month the model had failed in the same way. The company denied responsibility until the 4th fatality. Then came the recall. Quiet, technical, almost apologetic. One line of text explained it. Throttle position sensor malfunction may cause sudden loss of power. The words were small. The hole they filled was not. For years, riders had trusted that bike for its precision. Precision isn't protection, it's just delay. Every engine holds a secret flaw, waiting for the right temperature to reveal it. Las Vegas, 2007. The arena lights burned white against the desert air. A stunt performer stood beside his motorcycle, the ramp behind him rising like a cliff. The crowd waited for the jump, a live broadcast, cameras at every angle. He had done it before. Buses, fountains, distances measured in records. The math was perfect except for one variable, the wind. It picked up just as he signaled for the run. He went anyway. At the edge of the ramp, he hesitated for half a second. The bike left too early, underpowered, its arc too low. Mid-air, it began to fall nose first. The front wheel hit the landing ramp, both wheels collapsed, the frame buckled. The rider hit steel, then silence. Medics reached him within seconds. The broadcast cut to black before the confirmation. He died where he landed. The official cause was listed as loss of speed on approach. Fatigue and heat were contributing factors. The industry changed overnight. Live motorcycle stunts were banned from national broadcasts. Every future attempt required a structural engineer on site. The new standards worked, but the man they were made for was already gone. The footage still circulates online, A loop of bravery, miscalculation, and gravity's final answer. It happened on a test track in Japan. The rider was a factory engineer, part of the safety division of a major manufacturer. His job was to push a new model through endurance trials before release. Early morning, clear weather, dry asphalt. He accelerated down the straight at full power. At 180 kilometers per hour, the front wheel locked. No warning, no impact. The bike pitched forward and threw him over the bars. He struck the pavement head first. The helmet stayed on. The body didn't move again. The company halted all tests within the hour. The cause was traced to a brake-by-wire prototype, a digital valve meant to improve precision. Under specific vibration frequencies, the unit sent a false signal that applied the front brake instantly. One defective chip, one lost engineer. The recall that followed pulled every similar system from circulation. Electronic braking standards were rewritten in Japan, Europe, and the US within the next year. The design was eventually perfected, but his name never appeared in the reports. Inside the factory, they called it the stop that never should have happened. It did once, and once was enough. The last story was quieter. A man in his 50s took his touring bike out after breakfast. No group, no cameras, no purpose but air and distance. He followed a familiar route through farmland, the kind of road where danger feels impossible. At a bend shaded by trees, a car came the other way. The driver had worked a night shift and was drifting into sleep. The car crossed half a meter over the center line. The motorcycle swerved toward the shoulder, hit damp gravel, and lost traction. Impact speed, 68 kilometers per hour. The car stopped 40 meters later. He didn't. The police diagram showed everything clearly. Angle, distance, reaction time. There was no violation on either side, no crime to prosecute. It was an event, not an offense. The driver said he saw the bike only when it flashed past the windshield. The wife sold the motorcycle within the month. The gloves stayed hanging by the garage door. Each Sunday, she still hears engines passing the house. She says she can tell his make by sound. It isn't possible. She believes it anyway.